When trying to understand the difference between camera shots and camera moves, think about it like this. With camera shots, what we're really looking at is the physical position and distance between the camera and what it's shooting. So how close it is and where it is. With camera moves, the position of the camera is stable. And what we're looking at is how it pans from left to right, how it zooms in and out, how it tilts up and down, how it rotates, etc. So basically how the camera is moving in its fixed position. And with storyboarding, what you're drawing on every panel is a frame that you would see through the camera. So one example I have here is actually of a pan, and instead of a left to right pan, it's actually an up to down pan. So I'm just going to scroll across here. So you can see that the camera moves from the floor of the cockpit of this spaceship up until about, I don't know, human head height. And when I release, if we click in the stage view frame and then use the number 1, which is the keyboard shortcut to zoom out, you can actually see that there is a green rectangle here and a red rectangle here. And that's actually seen in traditional storyboarding as well. When people used to draw with ink and marker on paper and cardboard, they would show where the camera should start in a frame, where it should end. And usually there's also be arrows to show you the movement of the camera upward. So maybe an upward arrow here and an upward arrow there, so that you know that you go from the green frame to the red frame and it's a pan upward. This also applies for zooms where you would see a small rectangle and a larger rectangle, and if the rectangles were in black and white, that's when arrows become very important, because they wouldn't be a green rectangle for start frame and a red rectangle for end frame. The arrows would indicate whether it was a zoom in or a zoom out. So all this to say, whenever you see a camera move, it's often illustrated as 2 frames showing a start and an end frame, or with camera movement arrows. And this, of course, is not to be confused with action arrows. For example, here we see an arrow that would indicate the character should lift their arm up, and then another arrow indicating that they should turn behind the seat and walk away. So those have nothing to do with the camera, but in fact have something to do with the action of a character within the scene. And unlike with camera shots, using too many different camera moves in your production can make it look hokey, so it's good to use them selectively. And the last thing I just wanted to say, because this is the first time you're seeing it, this is a 3D model that was used for this storyboard, and it's actually considered a pretty highly rendered storyboard. And the movement that you saw here would be used for an animatic if you'd like to render an animatic from the storyboard. However, if you wanted to see it as a print version on paper, that's when you would see this double framing.